Good afternoon, movie fans. This is Joe at the movies with a movie news show that I'm just now starting. Hopefully, this will be weekly. I don't know when it will become weekly due to the fact that theaters are shut down and there might not be as much movie news, but eventually, I want to try to get this to be a weekly show, just basically going down recent movie news and keeping everybody informed and up to date on what's going on in the movie industry and with theaters and whatnot. So, anyway, my first story is going to be about Disney. About a week and a half ago, Disney did their big investors call, which I did a video on the Star Wars portion of the investors call about a week ago. And I don't want to rehash all that. I'm going to say they have since then, they have now announced yet another Star Wars project, the Book of Boba Fett, which is going to be I guess, a limited series starting December of 2021. So that brings the total of Disney projects involving Star Wars to 11 that have been announced recently. And so that's exciting news for all you Star Wars fans. Also, several Marvel Studios projects were announced. Most were already known projects that were coming down the line, such as the Falcon and Winter Soldier show and a few movies that were announced. So I'm not going to get into all that. They did do release dates for some of these shows that we didn't have previously. There's many videos on YouTube that break down the entire Disney investors meeting or just the different subcategories, Star Wars, Marvel. I encourage you to watch that if you want to know more about the Star Wars. I have a video on this channel about it. But the two big movie news things that dropped in regards to Marvel was, in my opinion, the biggest one. We're getting finally Fantastic Four done. This will be the fifth version of the movie, and so far we have yet to have in my opinion, a good Fantastic Four movie. I kind of think all four previous versions have been terrible. The first one was so bad it never even got officially released. I had to actually buy my copy from a comic book store in New York City, bootleg, which I do not endorse at all. But that was in the 90s, and I can see why it didn't get released. It's awful. And the three that did get released were not much better. So, Marvel Studios, who have brought us the Avengers movies and the Captain America and Iron Man movies, basically most things Marvel, excluding X-Men for the past 12 years, have been through Marvel Studios. So, I'm interested to see what they'll do with the Fantastic Four. I think it should be good. Another big piece of news involving a movie that we already knew was coming that actually surprised me was Black Panther 2. Um, they announced Black Panther 2 and announced that they would not be recasting the late, great Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa. They're, I guess, just going to try to move on and have a new Black Panther. I don't know if it's going to be his sister or another character that we've already seen in the previous movie, or if it's going to be an all new character. They haven't really said what they're going to do. Personally, this may be a little controversial to some. I think they should have recast. I thought Chadwick Boseman was great as Black Panther. I wish we could have got him for another 10 years playing the role. Unfortunately, due to his illness, we don't have that luxury. But I a lot of people think that it honors his memory by not recasting it and just moving on. I think the opposite. I think the character of Black Panther, especially since what happened when the movie came out and it being such a cultural phenomenon for the black community, the character is bigger than any one actor. Most of these characters are. I mean, Black Panther was created in the 1960s. He was, I guess, Marvel's first predominant black character, especially one that really wasn't, trying to just fall into stereotypes and borderline maybe making fun of black people. They actually created a character that I thought has always been a positive role model for black kids and for hell any kid that is into superheroes. It's a great story, a great tale. I would have liked to see more of that Black Panther story. We barely scratched the surface of it, and it saddens me a little bit that they are going to just, move on from that character. But I kind of understand where they're coming from because Chadwick Boseman in that performance was beloved by all. So uh, there's that. One thing Disney did announce at their investors meet, that even though they are going to be heavily focused on Disney Plus, most of the projects they announced, it seemed, would be going to Disney Plus. But for their big movies, they are still committed to the old school theatrical model, which I'm grateful for, because that means I have a job in the future, and I just think that's better. I think movies, especially big movies, but any movie really, it needs to be seen on a big screen first. That's the best way to ingest a movie. First is on the big screen. You're not, like I've said in other videos, you're not going to get the theatrical experience from your home, no matter how big your TV is. It's just not going to be the same. So I give Disney a lot of props to still be committed to working with theaters. And I think it's smart that they're bulking up their streaming service, because streaming is the way of the future, like it or not. That is the way of the future. And movie theaters eventually are going to become a niche market like record stores. So I don't blame Disney for preparing for that now. But I am glad that they are still, for the time being, committed to the theatrical model, unlike Warner Brothers, who is not so committed to theatrical releases. So that's all for the Disney news. Another thing that was announced, I think, day before yesterday, which is huge, is MGM Studios is selling their. I don't know if they're selling the entire company or if they're selling their just their intellectual properties and movie assets. So what that means is, if whoever buys this would get access to all the franchises that they own the rights to, and their back catalog of movies, which is phenomenal. Uh, Stretches back nearly 100 years, maybe longer. It's one of the old school studios. I hate to see them go away, but I'm hoping someone good will pick them up, someone that will honor their catalog. I assume one of these companies that have a big streaming service that want to increase their membership will buy them and use the catalog of MGM movies to bolster their own content on their streaming services. MGM in the last 10 or 15 years, while they were one of the big powerhouses for so many years, have not been very relevant in the last 10 or 15 years. Off the top of my head, the only major franchise that I can think of that they have is James Bond, which is a good franchise, but they just, not a lot of things that's kept them in the public eye and in the news in the last little while. So someone may actually get this at a bargain, which will be nice for the buyer. I don't know if they're going to get rid of their. I know MGM owns some casinos. I think they'll probably keep those and their hotels. So, but we'll see. I will update you more on that as I know. And our final bit of news is in regards to something that is affecting each and every one of us across the planet, really, is COVID-19. But I'm only going to talk about it and how it pertains to movies and the entertainment industry and theaters, because that's what I do on this channel. I'm not a science channel, nor am I a political channel. So I will only be talking about things like that in regards to how it affects movies and theaters, because that's what I'm interested in. That's what I do. Something that made the news recently was Tom Cruise's rant on the set of Mission Impossible. In case you didn't see it, you may want to go watch the rant. It's a several minute long, profanity laden dressing down of the crew by Tom Cruise, the star and producer of Mission Impossible 7. And there's been some mixed opinions on that. That some saying he shouldn't have talked to people like that. That he should get off his high horse. I do not share that opinion. As someone who has been a boss at a couple of jobs, I'm sorry, sometimes you have to yell at your employees. It just goes with it. And God knows I've been yelled at by my bosses enough to know that it also pertains to me as well. Um, Maybe he shouldn't have gone as overboard as he did. You can be the judge of that for yourself. But these movies are very expensive to make, and this movie has been shut down twice. Once in March when everything got shut down, and then when they finally were allowed to start shooting again, several members of the crew came down with COVID. So Tom Cruise, being a producer and some of the backing money behind this movie, has, from what I've heard, been over backwards to try to get this movie back on track, because a movie of this scale usually employs 15 to 20,000 workers total, and that's a lot of jobs. And he also has a financial stake in it, and he does not want the production to get stopped again, because that will cost millions of dollars, and that will put people out of work who are just hourly workers, like a lot of us, like me, you know. So I kind of fall on the side of Tom Cruise on this. I mean, I agree definitely with everything he was saying. Maybe his tone was a little abrasive. At first, I didn't think it was at all. I thought he was totally justified. And I know what a lot of people will say is, "Oh, Tom Cruise has millions and millions of dollars. It's not going to hurt him." I can promise you, though, the guys running the sound and the lights and the cameras and the caterers and the janitors, they are not making millions of dollars. Those are people like me and you, just trying to feed our families and keep a roof over our heads. So on behalf of them, I applaud Tom Cruise for what he was doing, and also the theater industry. This all trickles down. I mean, the entertainment, Hollywood and the entertainment industry is responsible for around 2 million jobs, and that's maybe even a conservative number. So I for one, I stand with Tom Cruise on this. Maybe he needs to chill out, but I don't know what was happening on set. Maybe this was an ongoing problem, and he had said something 2 or 3 times, and finally he just lost his cool. The person I think is the most shameful in the story is whoever leaked the audio to try to make him look bad. I think that is disgraceful. Had he been doing something that was truly, I think, what I would call inappropriate, yes, by all means, expose that. But just getting yelled at by your boss and then recording that and then leaking it on the internet, not cool, guys. You shouldn't do that. Enough about him. Also, in regards to COVID, as I'm sure many of you know, the Congress just passed another stimulus bill. And including in that stimulus bill is $15 billion for entertainment venues, including movie theaters. Also, I would say concert halls, museums, things like that all fall into it. But, and I know a lot of people aren't for, government bailouts and stuff, but this is an industry that has truly been crippled by COVID, as have others. I'm not saying it's just us, but I'm like I said, this channel is for theaters and movies, so I'm just talking about it and how it affects that industry. But COVID has decimated it. I always told my mom that I wouldn't have to worry because theaters are recession proof. And in the past, they have proven to be able to stand up against the worst times. A pandemic's a little bit different, though, and it's one thing that movie theaters can't really operate under, at least not in full capacity. And with the profit margins being on theaters being as small as they can be at times, I thank the government for that, and I hope it goes to the right theaters, some of these smaller groups and theater owners who are struggling to keep their doors open during these hard times. Also, in that part of the bill is I don't know all the details on this, but I know that they are increasing the penalty for copyright violations, and in particular, streaming of pirated movies, to 10 years in prison. So I don't really know. I'm all for that. I think piracy is something that definitely needs to be gotten under control and not to be taken lightly, because, in my opinion, piracy is theft. No two ways about it. I don't see it as a gray area. I see it as a black and a white, wrong and right. And piracy, you are taking something that someone made and meant to sell to make money off of, and you are taking it from a alternate source without paying for it, that is stealing. So 10 years for the 10 years in prison for that, I think might be a little too steep. uh, if they're targeting these big websites who are streaming every single movie while they're in theaters, I've little sympathy for those people if they want to pursue them to the fullest extent of the law. Uh, but just some kid in his mom's basement downloading a movie every now and then, no, I don't believe that kid should get 10 years in jail. That's ridiculous. I do think the punishment should fit the crime. But streaming and piracy, in regards to streaming, is something that I believe needs legislation and needs to be gotten control of. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. Like I said, I will make this show weekly, depending on how the news cycles go in the next couple months. Once theaters are back open, I'm sure it will become a weekly show. So hope you guys enjoy. Hope you'll give it a watch. Like it if you like it. Don't be afraid to put a comment. Tell me things you liked about my video, things you didn't like. I'm open to all criticism. And please subscribe and share with your friends. I would like to build my audience as much as I can. So I thank you all for listening to me rant, and I will see you at the movies. Thanks.